as it is. When Krishna tells Arjuna, perform action for yajna, perform yajna, is he asking him to start another fire there? Obviously not. Because the action that he needs to perform is something else, fight the battle. So at that time, if he says, no, please hold on, postpone the battle, I have to start a fire, yajna. He's obviously not meaning that. So what he's done brilliantly, which every generation must do, is he has infused a new meaning in an age-old ritual so that it becomes relevant at that time. And this new meaning that he has infused is that he has completely internalized the entire ritual. So, when Krishna tells Arjuna to perform yajna, what he means is, here, the kund, as you saw in the earlier slide, represents the field of activity that you're engaged in. The organization, the government department that you work for, or municipality you work for, I don't know, whatever it is, or the field of music, art, sculpture, etc. The ahuti that you offer into the kund is your particular talent, ability, gift that you have. So, let's take the members of an organization. The kund represents the organization. Every morning, all the employees gather together in the office, in the organization, and if they are performing yajna, each member of the organization has to offer his particular talent or gift or ability into the kund of the organization. Means he performs dedicated actions in the field of his gift or talent, dedicating his actions to the welfare of the organization. If every member, say, every organization has people with different capabilities. There is a typist, there is an IT professional, there is an accountant, there is a salesperson, there is a general manager, there is a managing director, there is a chairman, there is a peon. There are various kinds of people with their distinct abilities. If every member offers his talent into the kund of the organization, what happens is the fire shoots up, means it represents the profit potential of that organization is kindled. So when the organization makes profits, what happens? It automatically shares the profits with prasad that is given, represents the distribution of profits. At the end of a havan, at the end of a yajna, invariably prasad is distributed. That prasad is always sweet. No prasad is ever bitter. Sweet prasad signifies the return that you get as a result of this yajna activity is prosperity. Everyone is blessed with prosperity. The profits are shared among the employees, the shareholders, stakeholders, community benefits, nation benefits. There's benefit all the way. But if you look at it from a personal angle, from a selfish angle, every morning when you go to your office or organization or wherever it is that you work, the only thought in your mind is, what's in it for me? How do I derive maximum benefit from this exercise? Then the profits dwindle. What happens? The organization goes into BIFR, bankruptcy. All the employees lose their jobs. It creates, it becomes a malignant tumor in society. So when he tells Arjuna, perform actions for the sake of yajna, sacrifice, he's telling all of us, why do we need to sacrifice? See, when yajna is translated as sacrifice, it becomes negative. You say, oh, who wants to sacrifice? And yet, what he means by yajna is something far more powerful, far more empowering, far more fulfilling than just the word sacrifice. The world it performed this sacrifice, this yajna, free from attachment. Don't get attached to the activity. Don't believe that the organization will fall to pieces without your contribution. That is attachment. The organization will go on, the nation will go on, the world will go on without any one of us. That's not the point. The point is that if you perform dedicated activity, what happens as a result? Not only will you get prosperity, but the fruit of this action, that trans-sattva state, which is signified by going to the temple. In a temple, invariably in a traditional orthodox temple, the deity, the murti that is in the temple is always in dark. Each one of us is a moving temple. And you get to see the murti within, which is Atman, the self. You get to the state of self-realization when you transcend the three gunas. So the whole ritual is complete. It takes you from action to the state of self-realization. This is the beauty of yajna activities. If you don't perform yajna activities, what happens? You gain, throughout the Gita he keeps saying, na siddhim, you will not get success, you won't get prosperity. Na sukham, nor will you be happy. Na param gatam, nor will you reach that state of realization. Then why are you performing selfish activity? Who is he telling? He's telling all of us here. And yet, all of us are helplessly drawn to perform selfish actions. Why? We're all performing selfish actions. At least you must know why you're performing selfish actions. Because you believe that if I perform unselfish actions, I will stand to lose. Right? Isn't that what you believe? The belief is, if I don't take care of myself, then what will happen to me? If I work for my neighbor, what will happen to me? Take a look at all the people in the world who have worked for something other than themselves and see what's happened to them. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin not because he wanted royalty from it, but because he wanted to serve humanity. He became a world icon. Newton, Einstein, the greatest of scientists, did not so much as even think of themselves. Had they thought of themselves, they would not have been able to discover or invent half the things that they did. Even industrialists. When Jamshedji Tata started the Tata Group of Industries, he didn't do it because he wanted to fill his pockets with profits. He did it because of a higher ideal. And even to this day, profits that are generated go for charity in the Tata Group. And that is why the Tata Group of companies was number one in this country for many, many years. Any person who sacrifices, the world returns the courtesy, gives prosperity, the likes of which the individual might never have imagined. And he gets much, much more. So it's a misplaced fear in us that if I work for something beyond myself, what will happen to me? Oh, it's all very well for you to talk, we have to make a living, as if I have to die. And because people don't understand it, they are denying themselves the wonderful effects of yajna activity. Try it. Just try it as an experiment. See, every moment of our life we have this choice to think of things from my perspective, from a selfish perspective, or from the larger perspective. We have programmed ourselves so that we think only of my perspective. Stretch to think of the larger perspective and see what a wonderful effect it has on you. First of all, your actions will be productive, efficient. You'll gain success, prosperity. You'll be happy. All selfish actions lead to mental agitations, which is sorrow, stress. No unselfish activity can ever give you agitation. Now work backwards. If you are agitated, if you are disturbed, if you are stressed out, if you can't sleep properly because of worries and anxieties, there is only one reason for that. And that is selfishness. So when he says this, he's got a tremendous impact. It's got a real punch. And you need to think about this. O Kaunteya, very lovingly he's addressing all of us. Perform action for yajna, free from attachment. The world is bound by non-yajna activity. When you perform selfish actions, it boomerangs back on you with one more desire, one more taint, one more impurity in your system, and that binds you. You never experience that freedom that you are heir to. You never give yourself a chance to free yourself from this self-imposed prison. The world is bound by non-yajna activity. The yajna means the sacrifice of the lower for the higher. Every one of us has a lower and a higher interest, a lower desire, higher desire. So yajna is simply identifying with your own higher aspirations, for which you need to give up your lower, baser desires. So he's not introducing something foreign to us. It's all within you. It's a question of what are you identifying with? Are you identifying with the best in you? Are you identifying with the worst in you? Every person has to do that. An athlete who's aspiring for the gold has to sacrifice his lower interests, has to sacrifice interest to eat junk food, has to sacrifice late nights, has to sacrifice partying, has to sacrifice so many things just because his attention is on the goal. But if you ask him, does he feel the pinch? Does he feel deprived? No. He's so inspired with the higher that the lower doesn't come and interfere with him at all. A musician performs riyaz, hard practice, hours and hours of practice, for which he has to sacrifice. He can't eat ice cream, he can't take cold drinks, he has to protect his vocal cords. And he has to protect his mind from external disturbances. If you ask him, does he feel deprived? No. Because in the very sacrifice, he finds pleasure. In the very sadhana, he finds pleasure. Same thing with a spiritual aspirant. When you have set your sight on spiritual development, you have to necessarily sacrifice your own lower desires. But you don't feel the pinch. You don't feel denied. You don't feel deprived, because the satisfaction that you get from the higher pursuit is so energizing, is so fulfilling, that this doesn't seem like a sacrifice. But yes, in the beginning you feel it, because the pull of the lower is there. So just for a few moments, you have to undergo this pain. And for those few moments of pain that you're not willing to go through, you give up a lifetime of happiness and joy. This is what he's saying. Verse 10.
Saha yajna praja sruštva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam eshavostvishta kamadhuk.
Saha yajna, along with yajna, sacrifice. The Creator, Prajapati, said, by this may you prosper. Let this be the Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu means wish-fulfilling celestial cow of your desires. So in this verse, he is elaborating on yajna. The human being is the only species in the world that is endowed with this ability to sacrifice. No other creature, no other animal, no other plant has this capacity. They cannot. They can't conceive of sacrifice. Can't conceive of saying, okay, let me take a back seat and allow somebody else to have. When there is food in a plate and there are two dogs there, both will go rushing to eat the food. No dog has the capacity to say, okay, you have it, and I'll go without it. Only a human being has that capacity. If there is only a little bit of food left, only a human being has the capacity to say, if you are sacrificial, you'll say, I'm not hungry, you have it. You put on an act of not being hungry, you could be starving, you want the food, but you'll say, no, you please have it. For how many of us exercise that option is a different thing. So therefore, since only the human being has, at least we are capable of it, whether we do it or not is a different matter. He says, he puts it dramatically and says, the Creator, when He created humankind, created the human being along with this capacity to sacrifice, yajna, this inbuilt capability of sacrificing. And when He created humanity, He says, by this may you prosper. In other words, what He's saying it is, only through the medium of yajna, sacrifice, can you gain prosperity. And let this be the kamadhenu of all your desires. Kamadhenu is supposed to be a celestial cow in heaven, which has the capacity of fulfilling any of your wishes. The belief is, the saying is, that if you are able to locate the address of Kamadhenu and get there, all your wishes will be fulfilled. All your desires will be fulfilled. Right? Now, after the lecture, please don't come and ask me Kamadhenu's address. Simple thing is, I don't know the address, because if I knew, I wouldn't be wasting time here, I would be there. But he's not referring to a physical cow. What he's put it brilliantly. What he's saying is, it is only through yajna, it is only through sacrifice that you will gain fulfillment of all your desires. And yet we believe that chasing the object of desire will get us a fulfillment. Complete opposite of what he's saying. So either we are wrong or Krishna is wrong. You decide. Total opposite. And he says, Kamadhenu is the mythological cow of Vasishtha, is deliberately put, says cow, because the cow epitomizes this spirit of sacrifice. In the very life of the cow seems to be designed to work according to a certain principle, because it takes least from society. What does the cow take from society? Grass and water. And what does it give back to society? Wholesome milk. And that milk is something that can be consumed or is consumed by all sections of society, infants right up to old age. The sick, the elderly, the healthy, sports people, everybody consumes it. It's wholesome, energizing, life-giving, as it were, milk that the cow gives. It takes least from society and gives maximum. What are we doing? Trying to take maximum out of everybody, everything. You happen to be an employee in an organization, squeeze every perk, every facility to its maximum, use it, sometimes abuse it. And what do you give back in return? Least possible. Most of us are clock watchers. I don't know about here, but elsewhere, if you are supposed to be at work at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 10:45, slowly people stroll in. And then you leave for lunch at 12:30. Have a nice long lunch, come back. The concept is not there of contributing. Concept is grabbing. Any relationship, any contact, any organization, even social service organization, NGOs, people join for what? Name. I'll make a name for myself. I'll meet people, I'll make good contacts, which will help my business. Strange concepts people have. Here is, and that is why the cow is worshipped, is considered, is venerated in this country because of this principle. It seems to be functioning on the principle of yajna. And what he's saying here is, this mythological cow, Kamadhenu, will fulfill all your desires. How does he say that? Once you escalate from lower desires to higher desires, the lower desires automatically vanish, the higher desires get fulfilled through this spirit of sacrifice. Anybody who has sacrificed will not be left wanting. Oliver Goldsmith says, I have been young and now am old, yet never saw I the righteous man forsaken, nor his seed begging. Meaning, any person who is righteous, who sacrifices, he doesn't suffer, nor do his children suffer. So you believe that if you acquire a lot of wealth, you'll keep it for my children. Very many people say, I've bought 2 flats, one for my daughter, one for my son. I've stashed enough money for both of them. The question is that really going to look after the children? Is that really going to protect your children? In America, the richest people in the United States, do you know that, have come to the conclusion that wealth only succeeds in destroying their children. So what they've done is, they have set aside just enough wealth that will help their children maintain a normal middle class lifestyle. This is a fact. And the rest they put into a trust where they will plow back that money into society. Where is that? And what are we doing? Amassing wealth that is enough for 7 generations. You're only ensuring that 7 generations down the road they will be miserable and get destroyed by the wealth. The only way to